he thinks that gets where...
The number one. I say Fort York was at the entrance to the harbour because what's now the Toronto Islands used to be connected to the mainland via a sandbar that ran off of Ashbridges Bay. Consequently, you had a peninsula that jutted out into Lake Ontario, creating the natural harbour here. And it was this natural harbour that attracted Governor Simcoe to the site back in the 1790s. In this harbour, ships could be sheltered not only from any adverse weather that could arise on the lake, but also protected from any American aggression from the spot we are at now. Now, the fort we see today is not Simcoe's original garrison. All the buildings around us, save for the long white building to the left of the central path, were built between late 1813 and 1815 during the War of 1812. Consequently, Fort York has the largest collection of original War of 1812 buildings in Canada. In fact, this site is one of the only sites in North America that, well, fundamentally really hasn't changed since that conflict. Many of the other forts that represent that era were either reconstructed much later, in the 20th century primarily, or were heavily altered during the 19th century, either due to border tensions or due to the American Civil War south of the border. The garrison that existed here when the Americans attacked on the 27th of April 1813 during the War of 1812 predominantly existed on the other side of Garrison Creek, so on the other side of what's today Apple Street, south of Front. What existed here at the time of battle was the Lieutenant Governor's house, which was located approximately in the center of our parade square between the stone magazine and the two-story wooden blockhouse, as well as a few outbuildings to accommodate the Lieutenant Governor, and the magazine that was detonated at the climax of the battle, located just where the New York maple tree is, just down the path here. Okay. When the Americans attacked, the defenses here of York were nowhere nearly as strong as even they exist today, and so they met with relatively limited opposition. That's in fact one of the reasons why the Americans chose to attack York, and York was a fairly easy 100 at full capacity. This building here was really only designed to accommodate 3 officers. Wow. So you can see with the allocation of space, the importance that the officers at least felt they had within the military structure. Now, if you want to switch, some of them are wider than others.
Really?
Some apparently. If not, we won't be in all that.
Okay, well,
Sorry about that.
Where's your airplane seat?
Anyway, this section of the building in here is the private accommodations of a captain. This building is set up to roughly represent the early 1830s when the 35th Regiment of Foot was here at Fort York. Seat, and each course would be brought into the room and set on the table, and you could pick and choose how much or how little from each of the courses you would like. So in that respect, it was almost like a seated buffet. The officers would be paying for this luxury. All the furniture in these spaces, all the food and drink that they would consume would come out of their own pockets. In fact, being an officer back then was a rather expensive undertaking because there was this expectation to live to the same standards as your peers. So if you belong to a rather prestigious unit whose rank offers to represent sort of a modernization for the officers' quarters here, make their life a bit more comfortable, you can grab a seat again if you wish. Like I said, we'll be using the space for the ghost tours, hence the number of benches and the like. So this room isn't set up as it normally is, but it's still a functioning kitchen. We still prepare foods as they would have been prepared back in the early 19th century. We won't be doing so this weekend, unfortunately, but other weekends. And it would be used as a table ornament in the center of the dining room table. We have 2 here, so they could have been on either end of the table. And it would be filled with various fruits that could be coming from as far away as the Mediterranean, and then something big and ostentatious like a pineapple on